luxury. But for most ordinary people, it's about getting a job, getting on in life, and there is that degree of uncertainty, and there are no jobs for life. So there's a lot of uncertainties out there, but and COVID and the disruption that COVID has caused is a negative thing. On the positive side, I think there's great hope. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I sense a new energy for a different way of living. And I think this is where young people really have the power to change things. Life and love and community are a bit more balanced, where our relationship with nature and the planet is a bit more sustainable, and where we don't have to strive so hard for attainment and wealth, but where we can learn and grow more together as a society. And I get a sense, maybe, as I said, maybe I'm wrong, but I get a sense that young people don't want the world we're giving them. They want something different, and I think they want something a whole lot better. And I wish to God we could give it to them, but I think maybe the young people are going to have to take it themselves and demand. And this is where I think, young people and youth are not helpless. You need to get political.
Today with youth, and one of the things he said, touching on what Mike just said, was we need to give young people a larger role in political decision making. And more than half of the world's population is under 35 years old. So there's a voice that is there that represents a huge proportion of this planet. And getting involved in voting, and getting involved in activism, and getting involved in speaking up and speaking out and being constructive and collaborative, and this is what we need. And I agree wholeheartedly that we can make a better world, and we do this together, but we need the leadership from young people and young adults. And we're receptive, and we are all receptive. So please use that voice. Use it wisely, and speak up and speak out.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Mike. Here are some questions related to virus that are coming from our viewers. Why coronavirus keep erupting after it has shown lesser cases in the nations who made good progress?
Why does it keep resurging?
Yes.
So that's a very good question. So what you're referring to, and thank you for this question, is that this virus is still circulating in many countries. And what we have outlined as the World Health Organization are the actions. If the virus has an opportunity to interact with people in these crowded spaces, for example, the virus will resurge. So in many countries right now, we're seeing a lot of things that governments need to do, that communities need to do, that individuals need to do to be ready and to act very quickly when the virus is identified, so that we could break those chains of transmission and prevent these clusters of cases to becoming community transmission.
Thank you, Maria. Here is a great question coming from Aida. How can youth get involved in WHO programs?
Lots of ways. Yes, we have volunteer programs, we have internship programs, we have a junior professional program with many different countries like Korea, Japan, I think, Netherlands, and a few others. So there are arrangements with certain countries where we have a formal junior professional. The internship program was wide open, and in fact, Dr. Tedros want to work for us. We're very happy to work with people. We have a lot of people who work on $1 contracts.
I did for 8 years.
Maria did for 8 years as a scientist with Institut Pasteur and with London
Imperial
College.
Yeah.
So we have a huge amount of collaborators out there. So if anyone has any ideas, maybe we need an army of youth to work. We've got the EpiWin project in terms of fighting infodemics and fighting, and you've got the social media team here, Alex, and the whole lot. I mean, I'm sure you'd like a few extra pairs of hands. So the age profile in the media team is very young now. So yeah, I think I think we could. We also have 147 country offices, and certainly, I'm sure they would always like assistance. So yes, we could look at pointing people in the direction. And there are other volunteer programs. UNICEF has a volunteer program, Red Cross has a volunteer program, so it doesn't have to be WHO. There are some brilliant NGOs out there. And remember, in your own places, in your own cities, you have NGO, non-government organizations and charities who work with homeless people, who work with people with mental health disorders, who work with older people. and get out there and volunteer and do something. There is nothing more gratifying than giving your time to a cause, and it pays back immeasurably. So, and if there are any budding stars out there, we can try and steal them for WHO. Huh?
I met one, and when I did the UNICEF, the world's largest lesson, who was telling us, thinking of ways to look forward and how is this pandemic going to change the way we do preparedness and how we look, and great ideas. But it's also a good idea. It's also a way to get experience. So I have a lot of people that come to me sometimes, especially interns, that come and say, how did you get the job you have, and what was your plan? And a lot of the time, to get started, it's hard to have that experience. So volunteering is a great way to get some experience and some practical experience, and learn what you like, learn what you don't like. Learning what you don't like to do is also just as important as learning what you like, and meeting people and networking and meeting as many people as you can. So lots of opportunities to work with us and other.
I wasn't a student in Geneva already, it would be impossible. So
Yeah.
this is a great progress that I've seen as well since I've been here, that we have more people coming from developing countries to support us and to gain experience with WHO and UN. There is a very interesting question coming from younger viewers here. Is it safe to be intimate with their partners during COVID? And because we are suggesting physical distancing, so how young partners can stay safe but still stay together in a way with their partners?
Yes, so this is a virus, it's a respiratory virus that passes through droplets and contact with a confirmed case. So if you have somebody that is a confirmed case, if your partner is a confirmed case or a suspect case, it's important to stay apart. And it's important to stay apart for a certain amount of time, get themselves tested, make sure that if they know that they're infected or not. So our recommendation is, if there is a case, that you isolate the case, that the case themselves is isolated. And if you are a contact of that case, then you become quarantined yourself. So any contact there is important not to have. But if no one is a contact, then there's ways that you could be safe with your partner. The normal ways to be safe with your partner.
Yeah, I think the risk here is not intimacy. The risk is proximity.
Yeah.
So, if for the reasons of COVID you need to be far apart, then intimacy is not possible. And if it's okay to be close together, then have fun. I think it's a matter of being careful with respect to the health of others. And if the local rules are, and it's particularly true, I think, of people in younger relationships where they'll live at home and they meet outside. For people who live in apartments, if you're living with your partner, then you're either going to be quarantined or not, or you're going to be together or not. I think the tough thing has been, in these lockdowns, boyfriends, girlfriends, boyfriends and boyfriends, girlfriends and girlfriends are sort of been stuck on different parts of a city for 15 weeks, and they can't go to each other's houses because of the rules, and that's been quite tough on people. So I think as things ease and people can move and meet in groups again, that's fine. So I think you really just have to follow the local rules. But as I say, it's not about intimacy, it's about proximity. If you shouldn't be close to someone, don't be close.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid that we are running out of time, that Dr. Mike needs to join another important commitment. We thank everyone for your...
Could I just, before you finish,
please,
just one thing, because I think it's important in terms of getting our messages right amongst ourselves. I think each and every young person needs to look at the different encounters they have, the frequency, the intensity and the duration. You get to choose at some level. You choose whether you go to the gym or not. You choose whether you go to the nightclub. You choose how often you go. You choose how long you stay there. And you choose whether you're comfortable being there depending on how many people are there. And you make those choices. So think about the context, think about the places you're prepared to go and not go, think about how often you do that, think about how long you're prepared to spend in that environment, and think about what activities you carry out in that environment. And it's very interesting that it's really the crowded spaces. The Japanese colleagues have a 3 C's approach. I think it's really nice. They talk about crowded spaces, crowded places, and close contact situations. And trying to avoid those, and if you can't avoid them for any reason, then you really should think about, what can I do in this? I get on the train and all of a sudden 50 people get on the train with me. Well, what can I do in that situation? And in those situations, you know, you should really be minimizing your activity, minimizing conversation, open a window, and wear a mask or step off. So even in those situations, there are things you can do. So just think your way through things. If it doesn't feel safe, it's not safe for you. And please be aware of what's going on in your area. If you're in an area that has very little COVID disease, then you don't have to be as aware or hyper alert. But if you live in an area with a lot of community transmission, then there are many opportunities for you to be exposed. You just need to be a little bit more alert. You don't have to rule your life by this thing. Just be smart. Think your way through things and make good decisions. Just try to make good decisions. And in the end, life is a risk. We cannot reduce risk to zero. And if you're young, that's not, you know, life is too much fun to be thinking about risk all the time and having people waving our fingers and saying, please don't do that and don't do this. It's not good for us to be doing that, and certainly young people don't want to hear that, but you do have a responsibility too. And yes, taking risks on your own behalf, fine, we accept that. But just please, please, please think about the other people in your life as well. And the risks you take on their behalf as well, unfortunately, with COVID.
Alex, if I just may say, I just wanted to say also, like, you know, your life matters, you matter, your actions matter. And so that's why we're so passionate about what we say and making good decisions and not scolding, but just saying you have power. You know, many people across the world can take decisions and limit your exposure where needed. Not stop your life, but really take the right risks and not put yourself at risk. Think of yourself and, you know, and how you can protect yourself. But it isn't just about you, it's about your responsibility for others. So you're protecting yourself and you're protecting others. Think about your moms and your dads and your grandmas and your aunts and your uncles and your friends, and, you know, we are all in this together. But you matter, your voice matters, your life matters. So take these decisions as if your life depends on it, because it does.
I thank you very much both for your time today. I thank all our viewers for their great questions. We apologize once again for being a bit late with technical issues and for not making it up on Instagram, but we'll post our video there. Until next week, please stay safe, and once again, Happy Youth Day.
Happy Youth Day.
Happy Youth Day. Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and Happy Youth Day. This is one more of our weekly Q&As with Dr. Mike Ryan and Dr. Maria Van Kerkhove. As today is Youth Day, we will be focusing on responding questions about COVID-19 and young people. You can watch us today on TikTok, hopefully Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We've had some technical issues here behind the scenes, so apologies for delay in timing. Maria, Mike, as we celebrate today Youth Day with the theme Youth Engagement for Global Action, what is our message to young people today and how they can be part of the solution to the COVID-19 pandemic?
Thanks, Alex. Thanks for having us, and I hope all the platforms are working. So I think our message is simple. It's get yourselves involved and keep yourself safe, and you have a role to play in this pandemic. I think it's important that everybody feels that they have a role to play, that everybody needs to be part of this fight against this pandemic, no matter how old you are, no matter where you live, no matter what type of situation you are in. There are actions that you can do to keep yourself safe and to keep your loved ones safe.
Thank you, Maria. Dr. Mike, do you have a message for young people today on Youth Day?
I have a message for a very special young person. It's my son, Tom, is 15 years old today.
Oh,
it's his
happy birthday.
So happy birthday, Tom. And a fine youth he is. And in reflecting on I just think that young people, young adults, they're the engine of society's ideas. They're the engine of innovation. They don't believe any idea is crazy. They're willing to try anything once. And so I think we need to leverage and sort of amplify the creativity of youth and be very careful. We've seen some of the rhetoric in the last number of days, sort of, oh, it's the young people's fault. It's nobody's fault. The pandemic is not the fault of young people. It's not the fault of old people. It's a virus that's spreading in our society. And once it can enter and establish itself in any geographic area or in any age group, it represents a threat to all areas and all age groups. So we all need to play our part, as Maria said. But I think young people need to, as Maria said, engage, become part of the solution, drive the solution. I said it here before. I think future is in the hands of the youth. It's your world, and you need to get on with taking control of this virus, just as we're trying.
Thank you both. I would invite all viewers, and especially those who celebrate Youth Day, to ask their questions. If you're watching us on Twitter, use hashtag AskWHO. On other platforms, please leave your questions via comments section. You both mentioned that we want young people engage in this response, but what do you think, where do we need the help from young people the most in this response?
I mean, I think there's a number of things that young people can do specifically. First of all, for keeping themselves safe. So there's a number of actions that everybody can do to prevent themselves from being exposed to the virus, and prevent themselves from getting infected, and prevent themselves from passing it to somebody else. And these are the basics, in terms of washing your hands, making sure your hands are clean, washing them or using an alcohol-based rub many times per day, making sure that you practice physical distancing. And again, we say physical distancing and not social distancing because we want you to stay physically distant from someone, at least 1 meter apart, but remain socially connected. It is so important that we stay socially connected with our loved one and our friends, because it's very, very difficult to be separated from our family and friends. Make sure that you avoid crowded places. Right now, this virus really likes crowds, and it can spread between people in crowds. So if you can avoid those right now, that's important. And if you're asked to do something like stay at home, please stay at home. If you're asked to wear a mask, please wear a mask. But I think also one of the things that we need young people's help with is through this social net that we live in and passing good information around. There's so many different platforms that information is spreading. Make sure that information is accurate. Make sure that it is not myths, it's not disinformation, and that it won't harm people, and pass good information around. And then lastly, just a plea to young people to help the older people in your family get themselves set up with technology. And I say this as someone who's had to help my own parents, set up FaceTime and Zoom and all those different things. be patient with your family members, help them set up these different types of platforms so that they can stay connected. I know many grandparents are isolated and feeling quite isolated. So there's different ways that you can make them still feel connected, and give them a call, check in on them. And we've been so overwhelmed by the amazing acts of kindness of young people in everyday life. I mentioned before my son drawing rainbows for all of us, or people just checking in on their neighbors, picking up groceries, doing things that are safe, but just, looking out for one another.
Thank you, Maria. We are already starting to receive questions from our viewers, and someone watching us on Twitter is asking, how can kids be more involved in fighting COVID?
You want me to take? You take?
Yeah,
I have kids.
You have kids.
You've got some pretty
both
cool
have
kids.
I've got some pretty cool kids, yeah. Well, again, doing all of the steps that they can do in washing their hands and physical distancing. The other thing that they can do and get involved in is volunteer. They can volunteer to help, even if it's just within your own home, helping out around the house, helping out around their neighborhood of people that maybe need some help, checking in on them, running some errands for them, of course, if it's safe. Another thing they can do is donate, and they can raise money. And I'll mention my own niece, who raised almost $1,300 by making barrettes out of ribbons. And she raised $1,298, my niece Emma, and she donated it to the Solidarity Fund to help us do all of the work that we do